Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and celebrate writers of the Midwest. I'm Luella Schmidt.
And I'm Ken Humphrey. Today we're interviewing Jamie Wolf. Jamie is a Wisconsin author, speaker, and community advocate. Her work is mostly nonfiction, focusing on emotional strength and healing. In 2024, she published her memoir, Putting Myself Back Together From Broken to Healed After Abuse, chronicling her journey through domestic violence and turning her life around after. One of her works has been recognized with an honorable mention in the humor category for the 2025 Reader's Digest Short Story Competition.
All right, so I've already told Jamie this prior to recording, but we are obviously best friends. So listen to this. In addition to writing, Jamie is a mother, an accountant, and an aspiring law school student. She most recently founded Chapters and Beyond, an inclusive literary convention dedicated to connecting readers and writers and her local community. She believes that everyone has a story to tell and every story can inspire change. Me too, me too, me too. Welcome, Jamie, to Midwest Writers Room. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a great episode. And while we are going to chat a lot about your chapters and beyond convention, we're going to start first with you because we got to get to know who Jamie Wolf is. And looking at your template and what you put on here, the first thing I'm going to say, this is my disclaimer. You are absurd, Jamie. You're going to make us all look bad with everything I see you doing on here. I mean, I
Oh, that's
feel a little
hilarious.
intimidated.
Oh my
And it's
goodness.
absurd
Please
in a
don't.
good way, right? But we got we got to kick off your origin story. So let's talk about you, and we're going to start with microbiology. I mean, for Christ's sakes, let's go. What is that about?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I thought I had everything figured out, as many, oh, I don't know, maybe many high schoolers do. I graduated a year early because I went to high school in New Jersey and really wanted to get out of that state as quickly as possible. So I went to UW Madison, or University of Wisconsin, Madison, and I was an immunology, medical microbiology and immunology major. That was what I was studying. Lots of chemistry, lots of biology, lots of lab work, and I loved it until like halfway through my second year, and I was like, wow, all my friends have social lives. They're at parties while I am at the lab at 9 p.m. on a Saturday. And not that I wanted to party, but I'm a very social person. I was like, I need friends. I need to be around people. And the funny thing to me is that I originally thought about changing my major to like math. I was like, I love numbers. I love working with numbers. But what am I going to do with a degree in math? So I decided to just take a break from school instead and figure out what I wanted to do. So I actually ended up getting married right out of quitting school, very quickly, which was a red flag that I should have recognized right away. But anyway, um, I got married, I had a kid, I had a stepdaughter at the time, and life brought us up to the Chippewa Valley, where I got a job at a credit union. And there was this one part of the job at the end of the day when we had to balance everything. All the machines, all the drawers, the vault, everything had to balance. And there would be like 3 cents missing. And they're like, oh, great. Now we got to find 3 cents. And I was like, I will do it. I will find that 3 cents. And then I was like, how do I turn this part of the job into a whole career? And somebody told me, you want accounting. That's what you want. Um, and I tried school a couple times, and it wasn't until after I got out of that abusive relationship that I was able to go back to school full time and actually get an accounting degree.
Well, I'm just going to say that I bet you the path from microbiology to accounting is not captured anywhere in UW Madison's or any UW system in a
No.
syllabus. Like, here's what you want to do, go for. So good on you. And yes, Luella, she is your spirit animal in that regard.
Yeah. So can I just say I have a theory about this
Yeah.
connection between accounting and writing, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because it's just language. Like for
Mm.
whatever reason, I was really good at languages growing up, French and Spanish and Latin I even took, and then accounting is the language of business. I always say, even
That's
though
a
it's
very good way
cheesy,
to
it's
put it.
actually true. Like it is the way to tell the story of what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's that different. Anyway, random theory.
No, it's just really funny to me because my entire life I called myself a terrible writer. Every writing assignment in school, even when I got to college, the only writing assignment I ever enjoyed was for my business law class. And that's because I was like geeking out about doing the research and making a basically arguing is what I was excited about. But I've always been like, oh, I hate writing. I'm such a terrible writer. This is gonna be trash, you know? And then here I am several years later, a published author working on another book. Like, I finally accepted that I am creative. I've had people telling me that for years, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And I finally see it. So,
The exact same. I swear
yeah.
to you, the exact same. I've always said I'm just not creative. And then like I built this whole business and I look back at it, I'm like, I built something from scratch that still exists. That is obviously
Yes.
something creative in addition to words. But like it's funny, the same exact feeling. So
Yeah.
whatever that's worth.
You guys want me to step out of the room so you can just,
I
keep
mean, sure.
fangirling over this stuff? I'm feeling like a third wheel here. I have
Oh,
nothing
I'm
to
so
offer
sorry,
because I'm
Ken.
not good with numbers.
Yeah.
I
From the
am
accounting.
good at picking up on segues, which we're going to get right into now. So it was kind of mentioned in your bio and reference that you put out a book on the topic of domestic violence, correct? Let's
Correct.
talk a little bit about that. Kind of obviously the impetus for that may be obvious, but talk us through a little more on how that worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually kind of wild to me. It was not until after I got out of that relationship and I was reading about toxicity and, you know, harmful relationships online that I recognized that there was a pattern to everything. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was an abusive textbook abusive relationship. There were so many red flags. There's a cycle of abuse and it I was like, yes, we went through all these stages over and over again. And even though I was experiencing physical and emotional abuse all that time, it's so insidious that it just, you're brainwashed into believing that it's your fault. And, this is a problem that you created and it's up to you to fix it. But there's really it's like a catch-22. There's no way to win. And so I got really angry and I was like, what the heck? First of all, this is a very clear pattern. Second of all, it is happening everywhere, all the time. Like it's 1 in 3 women. It used to be like 1 in 5. Now it's 1 in 3. And I started talking about it more. I finally started telling people the truth. The first person I told was actually my doctor, my PCP. I didn't confide in anybody I knew until after I found this out. And I was like, no, this needs to be talked about. And the more I talked about it, the more survivors I met. So many people have very similar stories. And I was like, why is nobody warning us about this? Why are there no, in kids in schools posters about healthy relationships and red flags to look for? Doctors' offices, just like everywhere. Why are they not telling us? And I was like, well, I guess I have to do it. So I had the spark early on to write my story, but I did not know how to do that. Again, very like no confidence in my writing ability. And the idea of writing and publishing a book seemed so far-fetched. So I kind of just put it on the back burner for years. Like I said, I got went back to school. I got remarried. I had another baby. Just lots of stuff. And then COVID, of course, which disrupted everything. I believe it was February 2023, or was it? You know what? I can't remember how long it took me to write the book at this point. But it was February. I know that. And I finally decided I need to write this because I was getting antsy, like it was going to burst out of me if I didn't put it on paper. And I sat at a coffee shop and wrote 6,000 words my first day working on my book. Right. And as writers, you know that's quite a lot of 6,000 words. I think I, on average, will write 500 to 1,000 in a day. So that was crazy. Um, but again, I told people I was doing this, that this was my goal to write my story and publish it and get it out in the hands of people that need it. So the goal wasn't just to publish, the goal was to distribute, disseminate, get my book in places. And the second spark that really triggered like I need to do this and also I need to change my life was in 2022. I lost my mother. She passed away from COVID. And thankfully, because it was 2022, at that point, they were allowing people in the hospitals to say goodbye. And so it was just my dad and I, because my sisters and I don't live here. And we just kept saying over and over again, it's okay to go. It's okay. You know, you were a wonderful mother. You did everything you wanted. It's okay. And in my grief, I was thinking, like, I don't feel okay right now. Like, if something happened to me, I don't feel okay. I am not living the life I want. And so I ended up quitting my full-time job, starting my own company. Then I started my book and got that published, and everything just kind of exploded from there. So, and thankfully, have achieved part of my goal. I did a fundraiser last year, and I was able to raise over $200 to donate copies of my book to actually, well, I probably shouldn't say what hospital on here because it was kind of a covert mission, but a pretty big hospital. So a nurse took them and has been distributing them to patients discreetly, of course. But that is just scratching the surface of what I want to do with that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I want to loop back to something you said, and hopefully this isn't too much of a controversial statement, but you had said that it went from 1 in 3 to what is it, 1 in 5
It went the
cases?
other way, 1 in 5
I'm
to one in
sorry,
three.
1 in 3.
Yeah.
It From your perspective, and because you're kind of embedded in this and you live through
hmm
it, do you think the incidents of domestic violence are on the rise, or are we expanding the definition of what it is that can account for that ratio?
That's actually a really good question. And I would say from my own perspective, I think that ratio is actually higher. There are more. I think it's more than 1 in 3 because there's no way that one person, me, is just talking to random people and meeting a survivor almost every day. That's wild. That tells me that at least in some spaces, in some areas or demographics, it's much higher. And unfortunately, I pay attention to the news and on a regular basis, I see a news story where an abuser was either arrested or their target tried to leave or whatever it is, and they end up killing everybody involved. And it's so distressing to me because it's like a big red flashing light. Like, hello, this is happening. This is bad. It is leading to deaths and devastation. And the big thing to me is that it doesn't just affect the people involved. People don't realize how the billions of dollars that domestic violence cost our nation every year in emergency services, in police services, in judicial, in the legal system. Not to mention putting them in jail. It costs money to put somebody in jail. Lost work, lost productivity from the people who are being affected by it. It is, if you ask me, it is a public health crisis. And unfortunately, I believe it's only getting worse, especially with the state of the world today. And I don't want to get political, but I just feel like um, the climate currently is sort of like making things like this more acceptable. Like maybe not the physical abuse, but emotional abuse. Like I feel like we're getting gaslit every day by people
Yeah,
in power and the
I
media and
want to.
everything.
Can I say that was the thing that I thought of, Ken? That was such a good question because I
hmm
thought I don't know whether it's true that the definition has expanded or not, but I do wonder, emotional abuse is not something that we really talked about or took seriously, and that can be debilitating to a person in the same
Absolutely.
way or a similar way that physical abuse is. And, and so I do wonder if perhaps because we are taking different forms more seriously, that could be part of it. But again,
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that I believe that's a very good point that emotional abuse really goes under the radar. One time when I called the police on my ex, that I told them exactly what happened. He shoved me into a wall. It was a violent situation. And they told me, well, there's no mark on you, so there's nothing we can do. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? He shoved me in front of our children, and you're telling me there's nothing you can do. And on average, a survivor of domestic violence calls the police 7 times before something is finally done. And going back to the mental abuse, I included in my book an actual message, like word for word. I copied and pasted a message I had sent to my best friend at the time, and it highlighted so well the damage and the manipulation that emotional abuse does, because I was basically shitting all over myself saying what a horrible person I was and how everything wrong in my life was my fault and how could I do this to somebody who wanted nothing but to make my life better, and he wasn't holding up his end of the deal because of me. And in the book I address the reader directly and I'm like, can we unpack this for a second? And so it can, yes, physical violence can lead to serious injury, to death, all of that, but mental abuse really messes you up. And it took me, I mean, there are still things I'm working on in therapy, and I separated from my abuser. It'll be 10 years ago. Well, it was 10 years ago in February that I kicked him out for finally. And my divorce was finalized in November of 2016. So it's like, it's been 10 years, and I am still working on some stuff in therapy to get over what was done to me.
Mhm.
Well, that's pretty eye-opening. Uh,
Hmm.
all right. So before we leave this segment, the other thing I touch on. So first off, right, you established you're absurdly talented across the board in a number of things, whether it's microbiology, accounting, starting companies. But what's this note I see on here about now you're going to law school? I mean, what's next? Are you out of things to do? Are you running bored? I mean, when's your doctorate going to show up? Let's talk about that. What's prompting the
Oh,
law
that's
school?
hilarious. So actually, I'm glad you asked that because it has been a long time coming. I'm going to be completely honest. The first urge I got to go to law school was when Legally Blonde came out. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can watch that movie any day of the week. It is wonderful. I always wanted to be Elle Woods.
Okay, now is a perfect time to ask you to tell our YouTube viewers about your wall behind you because it feels
Oh,
very
perfect.
legally blonde,
Yes.
very Elle Woods.
Yes, so there's a lot of pink behind me. Pink and orange are my favorite colors. I'm not sure Elle Woods would approve of the orange, but pink is okay. I collect Barbie merchandise, not the dolls, everything else. So I have Barbie coasters, wine glasses, light switch covers. You name it, I've got it in Barbie. So I'm a little obsessed and I'm a little spoiled. Um, yeah, so that's definitely it's funny because as soon as I told a couple people around me that I wanted to go to law school, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the real life Elle Woods." And one of my best friends was like, "That makes me Jennifer Coolidge."
Who wouldn't want to be Jennifer Coolidge? That's awesome.
Oh, I know, she's great in that movie. So the second spark for law school, I mentioned this. I took a business law class for my accounting degree, and it was hands down my favorite class I've ever taken. And I'm a nerd through and through, so I've always enjoyed school. I love learning. I really like, I mean, even just like completing assignments and turning them in is very satisfying to me. So I enjoy being in school. Um, but this class was so much fun. I did a paper. Now I have ADHD, and I don't know if you do or if you know people with it, but my business law papers, I would write like 2 weeks in advance. And everything else I did for school was pretty much at the last minute, but I was so excited about it. And I told my husband then, I was like, I think maybe one day I want to go to law school. I don't know if I even want to be a lawyer, but I want to go to law school. And I bought a prep book at that time. Barely looked at it, but bought it. And then that kind of again went on the back burner because I started businesses and I had other things. I was writing a book, all that other stuff going on. But this a couple months ago, actually, I met a woman completely randomly. We met in the woods. We were both on a walk, and something about her was like, would you like to exchange numbers and get our dogs together sometime to walk? Because we had our dogs with us. And we did. And we would walk and talk for hours. And I feel like we jumped straight into like the deep conversations, like talking about what's wrong with the world and all this heavy trauma stuff. And then one day she texted me and said, I am so sorry. I can't meet up today. My husband just punched me. Yes. And so she was leaving. She was going across the state. And I was obviously just like gobsmacked, like, oh my gosh, had I had an inkling of a feeling, not a feeling, not a thought, but an inkling of a feeling that there might be something going on. But I think I also sometimes project onto other people, so I was ignoring that feeling. But then it was confirmed that that was going on, and of course, it was not the first time. And so I texted her immediately and was asking if she was okay, offered my house for her to come stay, all this stuff, and she wasn't getting back to me. And I was freaking out because I know from almost 10 years now of reading research that leaving is the most dangerous time because abuse is all about power and control. And if the target tries to leave, the abuser will lose that power and control. So it is a lot of times when deaths occur or serious injury occurs. It's how I got a major concussion because I tried to kick my ex out of the house. Um, so I called for a welfare check because I didn't hear from her for an hour. And all I could think was that she was on the ground, unconscious or worse. And so I called for a welfare check. And she was not happy about that. And she took it out on me. And that was the last time I heard from her. And I sat there crying to my husband, like I did only what was in my power. There was nothing else I could do. And I was like, I can't be a bystander anymore. This is bullshit. I know better and I can do more, but I need the resources to do more. So I said, screw it. I'm going to law school. I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm going to focus on family law. I'm going to do probably mostly divorces, child custody cases, things like that. And I am going to become a nuisance to abusers. I want feeble men to fear me, at least starting with where I live and expanding. I told my husband, I was like, I want every emergency room, every women's shelter, every therapist office across the state to have my phone number when I'm a lawyer because I want to be able to do those cases pro bono and I want to start changing the precedent in these domestic violence cases because so often they are arrested and then released on a signature bond and they're only held for 72 hours and it's like then they're just released back into the world. No monitoring, they can put an injunction in place and say, this is a restraining order. You're not allowed to go within that 20 feet of that person, but it's a piece of paper. Do you know how many people ignore those pieces of paper? So more needs to be done. Things need to change. And once again, I feel like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
I do feel like there's some magic in a happy life, though, or in a contented life, let's say, is basically doing exactly that. Like, look, that's what they say about writing too. Like, write the story you wish you had. Like, you're seeing something missing, and you're seeing something missing in the world numerous times, and you're like, I guess I'll do it. And I kind of feel the same. Like when I see a need, I'm like, all right, well, no one else is doing it.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
It is really extra funny to me because that's exactly how Elle Woods did stuff.
I mean, we are all Elwoods, let's face
I
it.
know, right?
After that movie, I tried to get my best friend to call me Elle because everybody calls me Lou in the Luella, which is
Yep.
fine.
Hmm.
Um, but I decided Elle was very cool, and
Oh,
she was
yeah.
like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that."
Too bad.
All right,
I do
so
have something going for me. I am a natural blonde, so I've got that. I just color my hair. So maybe I should go back to blonde for law school.
I just want to put a capper on the Legally Blonde discussion. I'm just happy I know who Jennifer Coolidge is. That's that's my that's my input into this whole story. All right,
Fantastic.
Luella, should we jump into the WWE message?
Registration for the WWA Fall Conference opens on June 15th. It is going to be held this year in charming Lakeside, Manitowoc, Wisconsin. We've got 2 full days worth of literary wisdom, craft nuggets. It's going to be really fun. Get your ticket today at wiwrite.org/events. All right. We are back with more Jamie Wolf. Let's talk a little bit about the origin of chapters and beyond. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is another example of my, I guess, stubbornness. So I participated in a book event where it was, booths of writers, published authors, and people just came to our booths, and there were some vendors, and then there was a speaker. Abby Jimenez was actually the speaker, which was really, really cool. But, panels throughout the day. It was a 2-day event, and oh my gosh, I was so excited for it. It was my first book event, my first signing author event. I had done speaking engagements around my community previously, but that was just me. So I was really excited to meet more writers, yada, yada, yada. Um, I was lucky enough to be set next to my one of my very good friends who's also a writer. Well, obviously, she published a parenting book, and then we had, a couple people on our sides flanking us that were from out of state, and we got to know them. But like, I want to say like 90 to 95% of the writers there were romance and smut. And we were just like, oh, like not expecting that. Like we're, parenting book, young adult over here, coming of age story here, and then my memoir. And there were like two other memoirists there, a fantasy writer, and then like literally the rest were romance. So I was thinking it the whole time, but until my friend said it, I didn't really like it didn't sink in. She goes, wow, I just feel really uninvited from the party. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And then while we were there, we were talking about 2026. And we're like, well, maybe next year will be more diverse. Maybe they just took all the authors they could get this year and they just all happen to be romance. No big deal. We'll just reapply for next year and see how it goes. And then maybe not do it after that. Well, 2 days after the event, after I've been searching for, sent an email asking about the application, looking for it online, I see that they're getting ready to announce the lineup for next year. And I was like, wait a second, how do you have authors picked already? Like the first event just happened. And through days of contacting people, asking questions, trying to contact the organizer, I found out that the app was for the following year was sent in a private Instagram message before it was posted anywhere. So basically, specific authors were chosen from the event, given the information to apply for next year, and then a handful of us were excluded. And I was like, wow, that sucks. Like that hurts. Um, it just felt really shady. And when I again contacted the organizer and was like, how did this happen? I didn't mention the Instagram story message because I didn't want to like put them on the defensive. I was just like, hey, I was really excited about next year. When did the application come out? And I got like, you could sense the disappointment in my email, right? I didn't get I'm so sorry this happened. This is where it was posted. I got nothing like that. I got one sentence and it said the application was posted on social media and sent out via email several times. And I was like, well, gee, I searched my email and I know how to search on social media and I can't find it. And so that again was just like a huge disappointment. And then I have a friend who's a professional author. She does these things for a living. She goes to these events all the time. She showed me her list of things she had applied to. And let's say she had applied to 50, okay? She had been waitlisted at 40 of them or denied at 40 of them and was still waiting to hear back from the other 10. And I was like, all right, this is a numbers game. Statistically, that should not happen, especially for a well-established author who has like 20 books. Like, that's outrageous. So we did some more digging and we found out that literary events are starting to cherry pick who not all literary events, but at least in our area, they're starting to cherry pick who's allowed to participate because they want you to draw a crowd. So, how many Facebook followers do you have? How many sales do you have? All that stuff. And I was like, well, that's unfair. What about new indie authors who are local and just breaking out, which was the ones of us that were pretty much excluded? And I was like, well, I guess I'll have to do my own and show people how this can be done. So, Chapters and Beyond is my answer to this growing trend. And my goal is to be obnoxiously inclusive. I mean, I want writers there who aren't even published, like fan fiction writers who just publish their stuff on a blog. They have an audience and they could find more audience at this thing. They could find people who also write in that genre. Whatever it is, you know? I just picture this event where everybody who walks in the room is like, "Wow, I feel like I belong. This event was made for me." And that's the ultimate goal with Chapters and Beyond.
And so what kind of size are you thinking? Like, and is it going to be local or where at?
Yes. So
Mhm.
it's going to be, the date is already set. It's going to be at the UW Eau Claire Davies Center, which is where their events are held and there's ballrooms and stuff. So we're going to be, I believe it's called the Ojibwa Ballroom. That's where the show is going to happen. So I've got room for like 80 authors and around like 20 vendors. I want to get at least, the goal is to get at least like 300 people through the door. And one way I'm doing that, again, like this other writing thing I participated in, the lowest ticket price was $75. So that was kind of cost prohibitive to people who wanted to go. I know a lot of people who wanted to go, but they couldn't afford it. Like my most expensive ticket is probably going to be around $30 for my event. Like I want people to bring their family and find books for everybody. Like I want for my applications, I'm trying to do it first come, first serve to a point where I will accept the first 5 authors from a genre right away. And then once I've filled that genre, you go on a waiting list. And then at some point, we start taking people off that waiting list. But then if you don't come off the waiting list, I'm going to have a remote writer section. I need a better name for it, where it's going to be a gallery of, let's say, posters, marketing posters for all the authors who couldn't participate, who are too far away or didn't come off the waiting list, so that there's even more options for people to check out. But then also some people don't like that being put on the spot with an author who has a product that they want you to buy, you know? And that's not everybody's there to sell, but like it does feel a little salesy at sometimes. So this is an option too for people who are like, I don't really want to have the conversations. I just want to discover new writers, you know? So trying to think of everything. I mean, I'm thinking about accessibility. I'm thinking about writing, publishing my marketing and signage in multiple languages because there's 3 main languages spoken in Eau Claire. And I'm like, how can I be inclusive if everything's in English? So, yeah, goal is to draw a big, diverse crowd.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Do you have any, it's coming up not for about a year now, so the
Yep.
planning is in a full effect. Do you have any plans yet on like what the schedule might look like?
So basically, the schedule, it's going to be the vendor showroom where or the showroom where everybody is going to be all day. That's just going to be an all day thing. Once I have everybody's applications and like, it's sort of I'm getting input from the people who are applying for this as well. So some things may change. Like we may do just like a break where we close the hall and let all the vendors and stuff take a break. We're gonna see. But basically that's going to be going on the whole time. And then in a separate room, we're gonna have workshops and stuff going on throughout the day. And they're gonna be no additional cost. It's gonna be included in everything. So I have a couple people lined up that nothing, no contracts have been signed, so I don't want to like say names yet. But I've got a speaker lined up for writers, so somebody to come speak on the writing journey and encourage people to find their voice. And then I want to have like a panel for writers as well, where they can kind of, questions are asked and multiple people are interacting. But then I want some sort of, there's going to be a side event for readers as well, where we're going to have um, a I'm thinking draw names out of a hat from authors who are interested in doing this because I want to be as fair as possible, but have read authors read a section of their book and then do a Q&A throughout the day. So that's how we would kind of fill in the rest of the space is have some of our authors sampling their books and introducing it to the crowd. And then, like what I've done in my community, just doing a quick question and answer and starting a conversation about why they wrote this story, what the message of the story is, where they're going with their writing, and just give these small writers a chance to have a platform, even if it's for like 15 minutes.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Well, well
Yeah.
done, you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think this will be good. All
I
right. Well,
appreciate that.
looks like it's time for us to dive into the special sauce here.
That's right. All right, Jamie, talk to us about your special sauce. What do you nerd out about, or what did you come up with?
Well, I've listed a lot of things. And I wrote some other things on the template, but I kind of want to stray from that a little bit. So we've already talked about how I'm a numbers person. I have an analytical brain. I love making numbers match and look pretty. So I organize a lot of my life into spreadsheets, which should come as no surprise to you, Luella. Um,
Love it.
yeah. But then I have so many other hobbies and passions. I'm a sci-fi nerd. Stargate, which you may never, possibly you've never heard of it, is my favorite series. I'm actually doing my 10,000th rewatch currently. I've never counted, but it's a lot. I have a sci-fi tattoo going down my back. It's down my spine. It's six different symbols from six different series, and they're all triangular. And I think it's really cool. Um, we also talked about my obsession with Barbie stuff, but there's a reason for that. It's not just because I like pink. I believe in what Barbie stands for and how you can be anything. And Barbie has had over 100 careers. And sure, she's not real, but like I feel like I also embody Barbie a little bit with everything that I do. I started working, my first jobs were in food service. And I worked in food service for like 7 years. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be a general manager for the rest of my life. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And then it was like, wait, no, there's more to life than just serving people food and killing myself working doubles all the time. Um, so changed jobs a lot. And I think that I have two daughters, and I think I'm showing them that A, it's okay to quit something and change what you're doing, but also B, like you can literally do anything you set your mind to. You really can. Um, I am very passionate about lifting people up and always creating spaces where people feel like they belong because I know what it feels like. I know what the opposite feels like to walk into a room and feel like nobody wants you there. And that I feel like was much of my childhood. And I don't know where that comes from because it's not like I was bullied or people hated me when I was a kid. It's just, I just feel like I was excluded in many places where there was no reason for that. So that's one of my very strong passions in everything that I do. I'm a crochet artist. I learned to crochet when I was very young. My mom taught me. I don't even remember learning, but I didn't really do it for a long time. And then I started doing it for like a month at a time, once a year for a couple years. And then my mom passed away, and my mom is the one who taught me to crochet. She used to do it. She could crochet without looking. Like that's how good at it she was. Um, so I started crocheting again after she passed away, and I cried a lot over it because I thought I sucked at it. And now I'm at the point where I'm not even using patterns anymore. Like I'm creating my own stuff. And most recently, I found a niche. I also am self-taught in baking and decorating cakes. Um, with like fondant and stuff. I've learned how to make it myself and I decorate cakes. So I kind of combined two of my passions and now I crochet cakes. And
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
I feel like your special sauce is that you found a way to take that ADHD brain of yours and like turn it into this garden of blossoms of random cool stuff you do.
oh,
Some
thank
to help
you.
others, some to beautify the world. I mean, it's lovely.
I
I
would
appreciate
absolutely
that.
agree. Your special sauce is is a higher level. It's not what you put out. It's what leads you to put all that in. I mean, that's the stuff you do. Again, you know, this is absurd, Jamie. You are absurd in such a good way. All right,
Oh
why don't
my
you tell
goodness.
our listeners where they can find you in the virtual?
Absolutely. So for Chapters and Beyond, we are the same on all three platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So it's at Chapters and Beyond WI. So and is spelled out. My website is again chaptersandbeyond.com. That's where you can sign up for the interest list because applications and stuff will be opening soon. And then my email, if you want to contact me directly, is just at chaptersandbeyond.com.
And we'll list all those links down in the show notes.
Thank you.
All right, Luella, let's jump into some good news here.
You betcha. All right, listeners, if you want to partake in our good news, we'd love to celebrate with you. You can reach us at podcast@wiwrite.org. Ken, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit broader good news. If you are anywhere in the southern part of the state in June, so mark your calendars. We got the Hedberg Public Library Book Fest, which kicks off June 19th in Janesville. This is our fifth year anniversary of running this program, and so it'll be going through the entire week. The WWA Press itself will be hosting a publishers chat panel over the lunch hour on Saturday, June 20th. It'll be moderated by myself, and then Lisa Lickel, the WWA Press editor, and board member Jim Landwehr will also be there just to take questions, talk through everything with the crowd. We'd love to see you there if you're in the area. Jamie, what do you got for good news?
I just spent the last 5 days with a friend of mine. She is my long distance bestie. We met during COVID in an online study group, and this past Friday, she flew in and we got to meet in person for the first time. It was very,
nice.
very special time. Yes.
Very nice. Luella, how about you?
My good news is that I am just about to leave for a vacation to Ireland. And so I'm very excited. I'm traveling with my husband and my niece and her family. And so and we're staying in County Galway, which is on the west coast of the island. And we'll be right kind of oceanside. And so it should be a nice trip. Looking forward to it.
And I haven't said this yet to you, Luella, but I'm so jealous of you.
Me
I
too.
wish you a good trip, but I'm also very jealous. And if you don't play Ed Sheeran's Galway Girl the entire time you're over there, then something's been left out of that trip.
I have a really great something about Patrick's Pub, I think is on my playlist. It's just sort of a shanty tune. I don't know. I got to get a playlist going on. So, and don't be jealous. Go do it yourself. All right, listeners, one more time. That's podcast@wiwrite.org. We'd love to shout you out on the pod.
All right. So at this time, I want to thank Jamie for coming on and really intimidating both Luella and I with everything she does across the board. It's like, if anybody else out there feels intimidated, please then give us a 5-star rating in your podcast app of choice. This is the type of action that will help other writers find us, helps us grow the program, and lets Jamie know exactly where she stands on the amount of skills. Good Lord. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us in the Midwest Writers Room. I'm Ken Humphrey.
And I'm Luella Schmidt. Words ignite imaginations and spark change. Never underestimate the power of storytelling.
Midwest Writers Room is a production of the Wisconsin Writers Association. Writing and editing by Luella Schmidt and Ken Humphrey. Sound design and editing by Ken Humphrey. Music for the Midwest Writers Room is written by Michael Ramir C. For more information, please visit wiwrite.org/podcast. Thank you.